Okay, so as you see on the slide that why English language has become the global language, we have understood several reasons, political reasons, economic reasons, and apart from these, we have also learned the world knowledge that were initiated by the English-speaking people, the people of Britain, and also the people of USA. So some other issues we will be discussing now. And this is the cultural issues. That is that after the First and the Second World War, several, especially after the First World War, United Nations established. And at that time, the name of United Nations was League of Nations. And the mandate system introduced by League of the Nations transferred former German colonies in Africa, the Middle East, Asia, the Pacific to the supervision of the victors, and the English language influence grew immensely in the areas which came to be mediated directly by Britain, such as Palestine, Cameroon, Tanganyika, and by other English-speaking nations. Example includes Australia, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, South Africa, and that means some international organization was established after the First World War. And English was becoming the emerging medium of communication in this 20th century domestic and professional life. In this regard, for the cause of international relation, we see that League of Nations, English League of Nations announces English language as the chief language of its proceedings. English was one of the two official languages, the other was French. So when League of Nations was established in 1920 by the Treaty of Versailles, at that time 42 members were there of League of Nations. And at that time, two languages were the official language of United Nations, or that is the League of Nations, one English and another French. And the League of Nations was replaced by United Nations in 1945, and where the role of lingua franca became even more crucial. For the first time, there should be a common language of communication. It was essential, but when there were 50 distinct organs included in United Nations, that it was more crucial to use a single language for communications within the organs and the member countries of United Nations. English is one of the official languages within all of these structures. We know that under United Nations, there are several organizations, organs, several bodies. In everywhere, we see English is a common language. Just for an example, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the Commonwealth, the Council of Europe, the European Union, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, other organization of petroleum exporting countries, and the European Free Trade Association. Everywhere, English is the first choice as a language for common or the global communication. In 1995 to 6, there were about 12,500 international organizations in the world. And about a third list of the languages they use in an official or working capacity. A sample of 500 of these shown that 85% made official use of English. So out of this 12,500 international organization, 1/3 they use official language, and 85% cases they use English as their official language. Other languages were Arabic, Spanish, German, and so on. The reliance is especially noticeable in Asia and the Pacific, where about 90% of international bodies carry on their proceedings entirely in English. Many scientific organizations as well, African Association of Science Editors, the Cairo Demographic Center, and Baltic Marine Biologists are also use English. By contrast, only a small number of international bodies, 13%, make no official use of language at all. Several international sporting organizations like African Hockey Federation, the Asian Amateur Athletic Association, the Association of Oceania, National Olympic Committee. When these organizations hold international competition, the language automatically become the lingua franca, that is the English. So almost all used English as an official language. 435, a remarkable 95% cases, the sporting organization, scientific organization, apart from the political organization, they use English as the common lingua franca or common language for global communications. Other languages are, and so this is a combination. They use English, either French or German. The European Academy of Anesthesiology and the European Academy of Facial Surgery use only English. Bodies from other domains includes European Ear Law Association, the European Bridge League, the European Aluminium Association. They also use English language. For example, the Afro-Asian Rural Reconstruction Organization has 3 official languages, English, Arabic, and French. But for its working language, it uses only English. So some situation we see 3 official languages, but whenever they will conduct proceeding, they use English language. So it is impossible to find expert translator. So there is issue comes forward, that is they can translate the language to avoid English language or a common language for global communication. They can avoid it if they can translate the proceedings in other language. But in case expert translator and the interpreters for all language peers, or to provide maximum coverage of all occasions, so efforts have been made to find alternative procedure other than asking some of the countries to give up their official status. So translation is a troublesome activities. Sometimes the peer translator peer cannot uh, cannot translate the language, or um, the lack of availability of the translator. Several solutions to this problem have proposed, such as the use of a relay system. There is no Finnish or Greek translator available, for instance. English might be used as an intermediary language. So in such a case, when a translator of such language or a single language is not found, then English become the language for making communication. One language could be so used, but English is the one which seems to be most often employed in this way. So this is the uh, scenario of using English language. This figure has risen to 47% by 2002. That is the English speaking organization. International politics operates at several levels and in many different ways, but the presence of English is usually not far away. When the television cameras present in the event of the world audience, it is notable that how often message in English can be seen on a banner or placard as part of the occasion. So in international politics, when a person will be speaking in front of cameras and also on banners, also on posters, we see one language, that is English language. But what would be the scenario? Okay. Whenever the mother tongue of the protester, they know that their cause will gain maximum impact if it is expressed through the medium of English. A famous instance of this occurred a few years ago in India, where march supporting Hindi and opposing English was seen on world television. Most of the banners were in Hindi, but one astute marchers carried a prominent sign which read "Death to English," thereby enabling the voice of this group to reach much further around the world otherwise have been possible. That means in India, they had been marching for not for English, for Hindi, but they are carrying a poster that is in English. This is a situation. That means to reach so many people of the world, English language is the only one medium. So apart from this, we see the another situation, that is the world media. Nowadays, any consideration of politics leads inevitably to a consideration of the role of media, print media, electronic media, and that is everything. So what happened there? The Sunday morning papers had Freddie Pickers being endorsed by the governor of Pennsylvania and most of the states of the congressional delegation. I read it as a civilian might without a twink. There had been days, months when I could soar a dive on the hint of the nonce in one paragraph item buried in the Washington Post that had been in my life. But the campaign was over for me now. In the novel, the media are at the center of everyone's life. The press, the radio, advertising, especially the television, everywhere we see the presence of English language. So the press, the English language has been an important medium of the press for nearly 400 years. Press then means the newspaper. In this regard, the weekly newses began to appear from 1622, the London Gazette in 1666, the Lloyd's News in 1696, providing general news as well as information about shipping. So if we see the history of newspaper, we have to go back 400 years. And we see that the initiative newspaper, the early newspaper that were in English language, that are the Lloyd's News, that and the other London Gazette and so on. American developments beginning somewhat later included the Boston Newsletters, that is 1704, the New York Gazette 1725, and the New York City Daily Advisor 1785. And the beginning of the 18th century in Britain saw the rise of the uh, Tatler and the Spectator, while the end brought the arrival of the Times, that is 1788, and the Observer 1791. So the history says regarding the press that the early newspaper were written in English language only. Massive circulation were achieved by such paper as the New York Herald 1833 and the New York Tribune 1841. Sensational, sensationalism, sensationalism brought even larger scale, and newspaper emprises grew. So this is the history of newspaper regarding English language. The mid-19th century saw the growth of major news agencies, especially following the invention of telegraph. They were long known as wire services. Paul Julius Reuter started an office in Aachen, but soon moved to London, where in 1851 he launched the agency which is now bears his name, Reuters. In 1870, Reuters had acquired more territorial news monopolies than any of its continual competition. So after invention of telegraph, such kind of news, wire news we get in English language. And so the top 5 papers were all in English. The New York Times, followed by the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the 2 British papers, the Times and the Sunday Times. So history says that the top circulated newspaper all were in English. A similar story could be told in relation to publication of periodicals, magazines, pamphlets, digest and other phenomena. So this is the history of press relating to English language. And the total refers to all kinds of publication, of course, literary reviews, hobby journals, comics, fanzines, fan group magazines, pornographic literature, technical reviews, scholarly journals, and much more. So all were in English. As a visit to any university library shows in any country, most academic journals with an international readership are published in English. Academic journal, that means the research journal. So if you visit a library anywhere of the world, the most academic journal are written in English language. In the physical science, the figure may reach 80% or more. So this is the scenario of English language in press and media. Apart from this, another issues relating to English language, that is advertising. Towards the end of the 19th century, the combination of social and economic factors led to a dramatic increase in the use of advertisement in publications, especially in more industrialized countries. So, uh, towards the end of the 19th century, advertisement gets prominent for international marketing. Two-thirds of the modern newspaper, especially in the USA, may be devoted to advertising. So, advertising plays an important role for international marketing, and in this regard, USA occupied the important place for advertisement, and of course in English. An advertising supplement appeared in London Gazette in 1660, and within a century, advertisement had grown both in the number and in style. So the first advertising agency that was established in London, that is London Gazette. It pays to advertise itself became the US slogan in the 1920 decades. Many products which are now household names received a special boost in that decade, such as Ford, Coca-Cola, Kodak, Kellogg. So these are the uh, product that we use in our household um, household activities that are also uh, we have got from advertisement. Poster, billboards, electronic displays, shop signs, and other techniques become part of the everyday scene. And international markets grew, the outdoor media began to travel the world, and their prominence in virtually every town and the city is now one of the most noticeable global manifestation of English language use. The English advertisements are not always more numerous in the countries where English has no special status, but they are usually the most noticeable. So in case of billboard, placard, electronics display, we see that all advertisements are in English. Nearly 6,000 million were devoted to advertisement in the USA in 1950. And this rapidly increased as advertiser began to see the potential of television. Other languages began to feel the effects. In Italian, for example, a single verb sums up to the era. Uh, so this is in Italian. So this is the history regarding advertisement. So another thing that has come forward, that is the TV advertisement, was more restrictly controlled. But once commercial channels developed, there was a rapid period of catching up in which American experience and influence were pervasive. The advertisement agencies came into their own. In 1972, only 3 of the world's top 30 agencies were in US owned. So in case of advertisement agencies, as we notice in data that in 1972, world's top 30 advertising agency are US owned. The official language of international advertising bodies, such as European Association of Advertising Agencies, is invariably English. Another issue relating to that is the broadcasting. In regard, already we have got the information about radio. When we had been discussing about the access to knowledge, Marconi system built in 1895 carried telegraph code signal over a distance of 1 mile. When Marconi established radio, that was 1 mile distance. 6 years later, his signals had crossed the Atlantic Ocean. By 1918, they had reached Australia. English was the first language to be transmitted by radio, When US physicist Reginald A. Fessenden broadcast music, poetry, short talk to Atlantic shipping from Brand Rock, Massachusetts, USA on Christmas Eve 1906. So, in case of broadcasting, radio played a very significant role. And in this regard, Marconi invented radio. And apart from that, gradually news and other cultural issues had been broadcasting in through radio, and the language is English. By 1922, in the USA, over 500 broadcasting stations had been licensed. And by 1995, the total was around 5,000, each for AM, for FM commercial station. Advertising revenue eventually became the chief means of support, as it later did for television. So after radio, television got the upper hand. In Britain, experimental broadcasts were being made as early in 1919, and the British Broadcasting Company, later corporation, was established in 1922. It was a monopoly. No other broadcasting company was allowed until the creation of the Independent Television Authority in 1954. So BBC, British Broadcasting Company or Corporation, that was established in 1922, and up to 1954, the British BBC had the monopoly for spreading news and other information through radio all over the world. In contrast to the USA, BBC revenue came not from advertising, but from royalties on broadcasting equipments and a public license system, eventually the only revenue. The first Director General of BBC, John Rake, developed a concept of public service broadcasting to inform, educate, and entertain. To inform, to educate, and to entertain, which proved to be highly influential abroad. So BBC had a motto: to educate, to inform, and to entertain. Through this motto, they established a monopoly all over the world. And of course, the English is English. English language is English. In 1920 decades, English language broadcasting began in Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Indian Broadcasting Company had a station in Bombay and Calcutta in 1927. Most European countries commenced radio station during the same period. As services portfolios proliferated, the need for international agreement became urgent. So this is the scenario of Telecommunication Union, created as early in 1865 to handle the problem of telegraphy. There are also several important regional organizations such as Commonwealth Broadcasting Association, the European Broadcasting Union, as well as cultural and educational organizations such as London-based International Broadcast Institute. So these are the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, for example, uses only English as an official language. So other broadcasting agencies are there, but they had been using also English language. A similar dramatic expansion later affected public television. The world first high definition service provided by the BBC began in London, and that was in 1936. In the USA, the National Broadcasting Company was able to provide a regular service in 1939. Within a year, there were over 20 TV stations operating in the USA. So within 1940, there were 20 TV stations in the USA. So this is the 10 million TV receivers were in use by 1959. And in 1990, the figure was approaching 200 million. So this is the data regarding television. There was also a proportional growth in Britain, which had issued over 3 lakhs TV license by 1950. So, in case of Britain, you have to understand that if you have a TV, you have to have license. Okay. In case of our country, Bangladesh, we do not have to have the TV license, but still in UK, you have to have TV license. So in 1950, they had 3 lakhs TV license. So this is the history regarding TV and radio dominated by English-speaking countries. And so the data says the news service to cover 10,000 radio stations worldwide, chiefly in English language. So this is the scenario. And the Voice of America, the external broadcasting service of the USA Information Agency, was not found until 1942, but it came into its own during the Cold War years. So this is the scenario of radio regarding English language. Another radio, American Forces Radio television service, international broadcast station offers a show-aware service in Latin American in English. So these are the examples of radio station in USA and UK. Other broadcasting station were there, that is such as Soviet Union, Italy, Japan, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Germany, and Sweden. No comparative data are available about how many people listen to each of the language provided by these services. So there is no data how many people listen to this radio, but these are the data relating to the radio station and the TV station. So this is the broadcasting agency. And let's move on to the cinema. And we know the history of cinema. Actually, the new technology, which followed by the discovery of the electrical power, fundamentally altered the nature of the home and the public entertainment. In case of entertainment, cinema comes to our hand. And in this regard, that is in 1915, the emergence of the feature film, the Star System, the Movie Mogul, the Grant Studio, all based in Hollywood, California. So, history of cinema, the history of cinema goes back to Hollywood, California. And in 1955, they started making feature film and movies. And of the 2,466 artists listed, only 85% were making movies in languages other than English. Of the 340 directors, 318, 94% were involved only in English language work. So in case of movie director, we see the ratio that out of 340, only 94% directors, they had been working in English language. This is the story relating cinema. In 2002, according to the listing of the BFI Film and Television Handbook, over 80% of the all feature films given a theatrical release were in English. So in such a way, from the gradual development of cinema, we see this ratio that 80% feature films are in English language. We see another film festival. English language presents in more film festival too. Best film awards ever given at the Cannes Film Festival, for example, have been the English language production. Okay, so the influence of movies on the viewing audience is uncertain, but many observers agree with the view of the German director with Anders that people increasingly believe in which in what they see, that they buy what they believe in. People use, drive, wear, eat, and buy what they see in the movies. So movie is a way of advertisement of language. So when a person watches a movie, of course he or she will be motivated. So in this regard, English language movies, as we have got the information that 80% English movies, uh, world movies are in English. So if this is the so, then the fact that most movies are made in the English language must surely be significant, at least in the long term. So this is all for today's class, that we have discussed about the relation of English language towards cinema, radio, television, advertisement, broadcasting, and others area, influential area. So English language has become the global language not only for the cause of political and economic, but for these areas of entertainment, advertisement, communication, entertainment, films, and getting information, getting education, getting instruction, everything. And for this reason, English language has become the global language, not only for the political and economic power of over the world. So thank you very much for attending the class, and